There are places where time doesn't rush. It settles, waits, and watches. And Zanzibar feels like one of those places. Me and my tour guide took a boat to somewhere even older. And this place is Prison Island. It has tortoise older than most buildings and stories you don't forget. Hi, my name is Pemia, and welcome to Pemia Voyages and Lifestyle. Welcome back to my journey through Zanzibar. We took a short boat ride off the coast of Stone Town, not too far, but far enough to feel the silence grow. In this part of the vlog, you will explore the Prison Island with me, walk around Stone Town, as well as you get to see how the island greeted me with rhythm, movement, and warmth. After the boat drive, we arrived at Prison Island. The place, it felt untouched in some parts and very ancient. In this part, I walked through the quiet ruins and meet some of the oldest living creatures I've ever seen. The giant tortoise. They were calm and still, like they've seen more than they let you on. Our tour began with a path that led us to an open space. And there they were. Huge tortoise. They were so big, I tell you. Still and powerful, without saying anything. Some were over 100 years old. Their age was marked in simple blue paint on their shells. One was 101 years old, another was 100 years, and another one was 38 years. I knelt between the three of them, and gently, it felt like I was visiting elders than animals. The place was quiet. The air was heavy and slow. Every step made me pause, not because of how far we had walked, but because of what we were walking through. There were signs around us with small bits of information. I read slowly, letting each piece of information sink in. What surprised me most was how peaceful the tortoises were. They didn't move fast, but something about them made me stop and look longer than usual. A few ostriches were also kept there, passing gently in the sun. But it was the tortoise which stayed with me. Around us, there were other visitors too, walking, reading, watching, but no one rushed. That's the thing I loved about Prison Island. It teaches you to slow down, some places speak with walls, not words. And when they do, you don't just walk through them, you listen. Me and my guide stepped into one of Zanzibar's oldest and mysterious places, called Stone Town. It wasn't a planned tour, but it felt more like entering a memory that still lives alive. In this part, we walked through the narrow streets, passed by old buildings, and catch a glimpse of what still remains from hundreds of years ago. Walking through Stone Town wasn't fast, and it wasn't quiet either. The streets were alive, people going by traffic by, Traffic seeping through, tight corners, voices mixing with footsteps. What stood out there were the streets themselves. They were narrow, almost like they were designed for whispers. Some, they were barely wide enough for more than 2 people. We even passed through banks, some small hotels and local shops. Some people were going somewhere. Others, they just seemed to be part of the place, like they belonged there without needing a reason. The buildings were close, the walls were worn and strong. Some had carvings, some had color, and others just stood quietly, like they'd nothing left to prove. I kept thinking, no one tells you about this part of Zanzibar. You just have to be here, on foot, to feel it, I tell you. I have a question for you. Have you ever walked somewhere else and felt like the ground beneath you was holding stories? That's what these streets felt like. And I wanted to hear all of them. Stone Town didn't try to impress me. It didn't have to. It just let you in and showed me what it was, layer by layer. Up next, we found a hidden art gallery. The gallery was tucked behind what looked like just another corridor. What we discovered inside, it completely shifted the energy. And I think you don't want to miss it. This part of the journey reveals another layer of the island, which had a lot of creativity, history, and everyday life blended into one. Sometimes, the most surprising places ain't marked on any map. You don't plan to find them, you just do. Right in the middle of Stone Town, behind a shop that looked like nothing more than a narrow corridor, we found something unexpected. A small gallery, I tell you. It was quiet, colorful, and full of life. In this part, you will step with me into a creative space, tucked away from the busy streets. Then we kept walking, and the city keeps unfolding. The shop was narrow, the kind you walk past without even noticing. But once we stepped inside, it felt like another world. The walls were filled with paintings, and the paintings had bright colors, bold shapes, and stories painted in silence. Each piece told something different. There were elephants, tribal portraits, scenes from African life, and moments that felt pulled straight from Zanzibar's soul. But the gallery, it didn't end in that room. We kept walking, and to our surprise, the corridor led right out to a busy street. It was almost like the art guided us into the real world again. But this time, I noticed more. The street was lined with white buildings. Some were old, standing with quiet dignity. Others were under repair, and others were just wrapped in scaffolding. There were flags hanging outside the hotels, motorbikes tucked into corners, and trees lining the streets, like they were always meant to be there. We passed places where new apartments were being built. The mix of the old and the new wasn't hidden. It was right in front of us, side by side. Some buildings looked 100 years of age. Others were still becoming. All around, life continued. Slow, steady, and grounded. When you walk through a city like this, do you usually stop looking for landmarks, or you just see things for what they are? And somehow, that's enough. As we continued walking, we came to Forodhani Gardens. At Forodhani Gardens, I met this guy, Daivan Smart, and his crew. You will see it in the video. After we greeted each other, they did something called the Makachu Jump. It's not just a performance, it's a gesture full of life and spirit. They also sang this song called Jambo Ghana to welcome me, even though I couldn't include the audio due to the copyrights. But walking with and watching them move and sing right as the sun dipped below the ocean line was enough to fill every word of it. What struck me most was how open and generous this group was, with their joy, with their time, with their culture, with their energy. That wasn't just for the coming. It was real. They danced for me. They laughed. They made me feel like Zanzibar wasn't just a destination, but a space I was invited to. Take a moment and really look at that sunset in the background. It wasn't planned. It just happened to show up, like a quiet reminder that some moments you don't just create, you just show up for them. That jump, that song, that light in the sky, it all felt like a doorway opening. And I stepped through it, ready to explore what Zanzibar had to offer me next. And from there, we walked back to the hotel. And at the hotel, we discovered that even a quiet indoor space has stories to tell and games to play. Let's finish this together. Not all journeys happen outside. Some begin on a wooden board between two players and a quiet game. After a full day exploring Zanzibar's streets, colors and history, we returned to Golden Tulipi Stone Town Boutique Hotel. But instead of calling it a day, we find something different close, something slower, and just as rich. In this final part, I sat down with my guide and he taught me this traditional game called Bao, deeply rooted in the East African culture. It was not just a game, but a way to think, to pause, and to share. We sat near the hotel's reception area. The light was soft. The space was quiet. In front of us was the wooden board, carved with small circular pits, each one filled with smooth seeds. My guide, he explained the rules. Bawa means board in Swahili. It's a traditional two-player game known in Zanzibar and many Eastern African countries. Each player controls two rows, and the goal of the game is to empty the front row of your opponent by thinking, moving, and reading the game like a story. He moved first. I watched, then followed. It didn't take long to realize that Bao isn't just about winning. It's about learning how to wait, how to watch, how to make a move that matters. Even in this small moment, the culture of Zanzibar was still with me. Not loud, not trying to impress, just present. Sometimes the most memorable part of a trip isn't the place you go. It's what you carry back with you. Playing Bawa reminded me that travel isn't always about going further. Sometimes it's about going deeper. Thank you for walking through Zanzibar with me. If this story spoke to you, stay tuned. There is more to explore. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.